Phase World? What the heck is that? If you don't know, you're about to find out. One of the more interesting aspects of the Rifts game is that if you talk to any tabletop gamer and happen to bring up Rifts, you'll generally get the same range of reactions. These typically go from, "Oh, I remember that game, it's really cool," or maybe, "I love that growing up, what an awesome setting," or even, "Ugh, nice game, but the terrible rules, ugh." It will vary from person to person, but the one reaction that you will rarely ever see is, "Rifts? What's that?" I find it pretty interesting how iconic the game that hardly anyone seems to play actually is. Phase World, on the other hand, well, let's just say it definitely often falls into the never heard of it category, which is a real shame. So in this video, I'm going to talk about Phase World a little bit, and give my opinion on why I think it's one of the most underrated settings in the Palladium Megaverse, and frankly, in tabletop gaming in general. Phase World itself is a spin-off of the Rifts game in the sense that it represents a dimension book that explores things that exist outside normal confines of the planet Earth itself. In fact, I think Phase World could have easily stood on its own as a complete and separate campaign setting outside of the Rifts game. But as it was written, it does require at least the Rifts core rules book to use it. Beyond that, though, it can be played entirely by itself and be a complete gaming experience. Phase World was first published in December 1994 as Rifts Dimension Book 2, Phase World, and was written by C.J. Corella with the cover art by Kevin Long. It was, of course, edited by Kevin Simbita, but the lore and setting itself was produced by CJ and is something I think is really ahead of its time. The summary version is this. Somewhere, far from Earth, in space and time, are what is known as the three galaxies to the people and beings who inhabit it. At the edge of these three galaxies is a planet that exists outside of normal dimensional space, hence the name Phase World. This planet is maintained by powerful alien beings known as the Prometheans. They also manage the planet's megacity known as Center. Center is a super metropolis that it rises thousands of feet into the air, comprised of multiple levels and dozens of miles across. It is home to over 600 million inhabitants that come from all parts of the Megaverse, some willing and some unwilling. It is said that at some point everything will find its way to Center eventually. Center is the primary hub for activity within the setting. Whatever you want, you can probably find it there, one way or another. Slavery, ill-gotten treasures, and things far worse are par for the course there. As far as laws go, the Prometheans generally have no interest or regard for what any of they deem the lesser races do there. Their only concern, and what they will act upon, is when the city itself is under threat from anyone foolish enough to try to usurp their power there, including taking any actions to control the dimensional gates. One of the interesting facts about the gates is that they are only a one-way trip to Phase World. You can get there from almost anywhere in the three galaxies, but once you arrive there, there is no way to leave, except by means of normal space travel, magic, or other means you may find. One of the other few things the Prometheans restrict is access to their world outside of the city. The only exceptions being the Draconids and the Phantom races. As I mentioned before, the setting itself is, or at least can be, completely independent of the Rifts game proper. There are over 30 new and unique classes and races, a huge selection of technology, and a somewhat vague underlying story of the search for an insanely powerful artifact that is as old as the universe itself, known only as the Cosmic Forge. This setting is a high space adventure setting. I really wish I could have the time to go into everything here, because the lore that has been packed into this book is on par with what you'd find in Guardians of the Galaxy or Mass Effect. In fact, I see a lot of parallels to Mass Effect series in this setting, which is saying something since it predates Mass Effect by over a decade. Campaigns can be set up in a wide range of story arcs suited to the kind of group you'd like to play. You could spend your entire campaign in the city of Center to play a gritty game in a Blade Runner style, where you solve crimes, or commit them, deal with the black market, or go as far as playing cosmic level characters that can fly through the sun under their own power, with classes like Cosmo Knight. which is as cool as it sounds. Or maybe just fall somewhere in between where your group owns and operates a spaceship, getting into nearly infinite adventure possibilities on countless worlds, limited only by their imagination and inspiration drawn from sci-fi media we all know and love. There are rules for faster than light travel, FTL, that allow for phasing and rifting drives that vary in capabilities, spaceship weapons, skills for combat. Space combat overall works pretty much the same as any aerial combat in the Rifts books, and while there are a few notes about sublight combat, the actual full-fledged space combat rules are covered in the second Phase World sourcebook. Yes, there is more than one Phase World book. I could spend hours talking about the Phase World book and the other two subsequent books. I don't actually own the third one, so there is little I could say about that one anyway, other than that it isn't authored by C.J. Kurilla as the first two are. So is Phase World the best sci-fi setting ever? I suppose it's subjective. There are a lot of tropes you'd expect and a lot of content and backstories that definitely seem to have influenced later games, like the aforementioned Mass Effect series and in some ways Starfinder, which Starfinder does acknowledge Rifts as one of its own inspirations, so that makes sense. Even if you play a different gaming system than the traditional Palladium system, I strongly recommend you pick up a copy of Phase World for the lore alone. It's an amazing, robust setting, and could easily provide all the information you need to slip it into any modern system you might enjoy. As always, I've got the affiliate links below as to where you can pick these up. If there is anything else you'd like me to cover or might be interested in, let me know in the comments. I actually had another video in the works, but while looking up something else, I got super excited about Phase World and wanted to go ahead and talk about that. But, like I said, let me know. Until next time, goodbye.